Welcome to The Conversations We Should Be Having, a space where a police officer and an activist talk about race and justice in America in a new way. A way that doesn't shy away from hard truths or differing opinions, and yet strengthens their friendship. No matter how challenging a conversation may be, they commit to staying in the room together.
And this may or may not be a real true life story that happened to me, but let's just say it isn't. You're at the gas station. As you're pumping the gasoline into the car, you hear in the distance of the parking lot a man in a van screaming at his child. Screaming like where everybody's like, what is going on? And it was super concerning. 2-3-year-old child in a car seat, let's say. This man screaming to this child like that's another man and they do not get along. I got the sense that there was a moment of unity at that gas station because everybody was like, what the, looking at this. And it didn't stop. And I remember looking at the guy over there and I was like, are we gonna do anything here? So what do I do, right? Now, my wife's in the store, I got my little one in the back seat and the gas is almost done pumping and I'm like, I can't, what am I about to do? And so I walked over to the van and I was like, is everything okay? And he looked at me and started, mind your effing business. He said, who do you think you are? I had that moment to say, well, I'm a police officer and but I didn't. And so, yeah, in that moment, he's yelling at me. I'm just letting him yell. I'm looking at everybody else. I'm like, really? Nobody? Nobody? This whole place is packed. And one lady in the distance, did you get the license plate? And I asked the question because because everybody just stood there and didn't want to get involved. It was an interesting moment for me to be like, look at everybody. Look at everybody doing nothing. Imagine if we abolished the police, what this world would turn into.
Wow.
You knew that was coming.
In this episode, Elliot grows increasingly frustrated with what he perceives as half-truths and social media buzzwords to attack police. He shares his personal motivations to be an officer, and as the conversation unfolds, asks the question, am I the right guy for this podcast?
I'm saying this just to be challenging, but I think Tanisha, that realistically, I think that some of the reforms that have come out are fantastic. I think that if you leave any career field the same way too long, right, you're going to get comfortable in the way things are. As a chief of police, I love change. I love keeping things fresh. But you talk about the prisons, you talk about mental health, there is so much more. We are just one tiny small piece of the problem. So I don't know if abolish the doctors is next. I guess we're the starting point, and I think we have, broad shoulders to handle that. Look, I think we're using not enough data, we're going on emotion. And I understand why. I think we probably do that in our daily lives always. I know that I do. But I don't know that it's the right thing to do. And that's what ends up on social media. And that's what people end up saying, these kind of half-truths.
I think that when Defund the Police came out, let's even back up. When Black Lives Matter came out and those words were used and people got into the, why is it Black Lives Matter? What about all lives matter? What does that even mean? And then we got into the Defund the Police initiative, and everybody was like, how dare them talk about taking money away from the police? And because those are such heavy words, right? Abolish, take away. And it was like, no, what we're saying is, how about we get rid of this entire system that we know was not built for the benefit of everyone in this world, every culture, every religion. It was not built for that. It was built for one purpose, and that was to benefit on this whole white supremacist thinking. And can we take that all away? Policies, laws, systems, prisons, everything that this stuff was built on, and rebuild it so that justice, real justice, really happens. Because if the system was the right way it should have been, Kyle Rittenhouse would not be not guilty. He would not be chilling in his room right now, living his best life, if the system worked the way it should.
The first count of the information, Joseph Rosenbaum. We, the jury, find the defendant, Kyle H. Rittenhouse, not guilty. As to the second count of the information, Richard McGinnis, we, the jury, find the defendant, Kyle H. Rittenhouse, not guilty. As to the third count of the information, unknown male, we the
Well,
jury...
the system, I believe, did work the way it's intended to work right now. The laws are the laws. So do we want to abolish the police, or do we want to, figure out whatever with the lawmakers?
It's both.
We don't make the laws. We enforce the laws that are put on there.
Well, see, and I think that's where it's like we've lumped it. So Abolish the Police became a whole lumping system, right, of laws, systems, policies, legal stuff, police, all in one, right? And we're over here like, yes, abolish the police, but we mean change the law, change the system, change the legal stuff, all of these things we mean, right? And that's why it's like, don't get caught up on the word.
But then it's now, forgive me, because I'm just going to be straight up, but now it just sounds dumb.
It does?
Yeah. I mean, abolish the police has a book-long definition.
Well, no, but it's like,
it went into like this documentary thing that we did, right? We don't know what we don't know,
Right.
and we don't care to research what we don't care about. So if you're going to say abolish the police, I'm going to tell you, I don't want to hear it. Now you've insulted me. I don't want to talk about it. See ya.
What is your truth then as a police officer, knowing that things need to change? What are we saying then? What are you saying then?
You know what I'm saying? I'm saying that I didn't get on this job because of slave patrols. You get into this job to help. People are there's going to be good people and bad people, right? That's just going to be the way it is. And I like the idea of solving crime, just like people like to watch a mystery. It's a puzzle, and I love that, and I enjoy that. And I've gotten so much joy from this job when I can solve a crime and make a family of a victim just feel good that I was there for them, and I put some closure to that, and I made them feel better and safe again. I don't give a shit what color. I'm not talking about color or anything else. That is why I did this job, to help people feel safe. I feel that my heart is in the right place with this job. I don't now, because there's a lot of noise and a lot of chatter that I don't understand. And it moves with the speed of light. I can't move that fast.
Being a police officer is not an easy job by any means. It is certainly not an easy job under conditions of maximum stress. But it is very hard to look at the videos that we have been seeing from all across the country, and particularly this one video we're going to show you, which you may have seen, and not conclude that there is something deeply broken in the culture of policing in America. Something that is at the core of the crisis this nation is now experiencing.
There's a trust that was broken, right? There's a trust that was broken upon or with this community. So I hear what you're saying of that's not why you got into this. But how do you now move forward knowing that this trust is now kind of not there because we got some folks who fucked up, sorry, and now we're supposed to just move on. We're not talking about just last year. We're talking about 60s, 70s, 50s, 40s. So there's no trust between the Black community and police officers.
I'm not saying that the system doesn't need to be changed. All I'm saying is that all those, all the things that you bring up is not why I got into this and not why I police today. And I think I could speak for a lot of people that feel that same way. We've come a long way from there.
Have we? I find this interesting, right? This is what keeps running through my head. You are really talking about these assumptions about police, these generalizations about police now, these negative stereotypes that you're now dealing with about police. And you're like, this shit sucks, right? Black folks been dealing with these generalizations, these negative stereotypes all our lives. And here we are having to live through that, having to overcome that, having to fight to overcome that and still fight it. And yet you're sitting here going, how dare the world feel that about us police because we're good. We're inherently good, right? None of us got into this field to kill somebody, to hurt someone. And we're saying as people, we just trying to live. And yet the world looks at us and goes, oh my God, they're Black. Something's got to be going on with them.
I get what you're saying. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know what to tell you
I don't
either.
feel like I have anything I can say that's going to be
looked
at as nice. I mean, my heart's in the right place here, but I mean, at what point do we say, okay, let's how do we move forward? And maybe that's BLM. I don't know, but how do we move forward and start to make change?
I don't think you're wrong at all. I'm not sitting here going, damn, Elliot, how could you? Like, I'm not your friend anymore. It is time that we do stop this chit-chatting on the sidelines, all of these separate groups, all of these separate mentalities, and actually start having these conversations of, okay, so we want change and we need to change the system. What is the system? What does that look like? Hey, just so you know, that's not me. You might want to talk to the lawyers, or you might want to talk to the Senate, or whoever that may be. And until we start doing that and getting the sides to really come together, and it's way above our pay grades, this is going to be the continuous conversation. But I think that we're on the getting ready to move that needle. Let me take it back to, let's talk about you being a police officer or chief of police. Let's get into really the meat of, or the heart of, a police officer. You cool with that?
Let's do it.
All right. Shit, I feel like I need God. Yeah. We're not really seeing what's really happening from the other side. So let's talk about the other side. And what don't we know about being a police officer? What don't I know? What do you think we should know about the depression?
Well, people don't know because I think they don't care to know, right? On both ways. Nobody cares. Everybody does what's comfortable to them. I mean, this morning I didn't want to come here. I wanted to watch cartoons with my kid. That would have been comfortable,
right?
Nice, But here I am. I'm tired of hearing that police work isn't a noble profession, because for me and what I do and what I do every day, it is. I like it because I was able to help. I was able to be that person with integrity that was going to put that energy into a case and do everything I could to solve it, to give a family closure, what do we want to talk about? Depression?
No, but tell us, the other
cops are killing
side.
themselves at a high rate right now. Why that is, I don't know. It's too bad. It really is. And in fact, here in Maine, we just had an officer, take his life recently.
The job of a police officer is often dangerous, risking their own lives to protect citizens. But what happens when officers are off the clock?
Tonight, the department is mourning the death of one of their own. A precinct commander and 21-year veteran has taken his own life.
An alarming number of officers are committing suicide. According to Blue Help, between 2019 and 2020, more than 470 police officers committed suicide.
Why don't we talk more about that? Because I think if we did talk more about behind the police officer door, the shield, if we talked about it more, there could be more empathy, right? There could be more understanding. There could be more.
But is it all right? Because here we go again, right? Behind the police officer shield, behind the whatever, behind all that is a person,
right?
And so ultimately, this is a mental health thing. I hate to use what's the phrase? Break the stigma, and there's a hard push for that right now. So, I think that's a start.
I remember when I was younger, right, and I was at the Boys and Girls Club, and we had a couple of police officers that would always come into the Boys and Girls Club. Friday night, they'd have like the basketball team. They'd shoot with us. Like, you don't see cops with the youth groups as much anymore. It's not publicized like the pals. Like, why aren't we even doing that anymore? And would you want to do that? And is that what reform looks like to you?
What, community service?
No, chilling with the people.
I have one officer on right now. I can't, we've talked about PAL. We've talked about those things. We've it's something we can't sustain. My police department is already defunded. My plan, right, was let me go get a grant and get a school resource officer. Because in the time that there wasn't school, there'll be community programs. I mean, I'm sure people here have their thoughts and feelings about school resource officers, right? So what,
Why you gotta say it like that, though?
Because I know you do. And this is my world, right? This is like take a walk in my head. Like there's nothing I can do today that's going to be, looked upon as a good move, a good step.
Let's get local now at 6:04. We want to spend a few minutes talking about school safety. The first topic's around school resource officers, as in should we keep them or get rid of them?
This debate is heating up in Alexandria now, and the school board met last night to discuss the status of its SRO program.
Marcella Robertson.
Some SROs, we have videos of them seriously, like, knocking kids down and running after kids, and in the middle of the class or in the middle of the hallway, they're dragging them out. There's some bad stories of SROs. And then add on top of it the feeling of some youth, Black youth, youth of color, they already have that negative bias. So you bring that SRO in school in their uniform with their gun on their belt. I don't know if they wear a gun in the school. I'm assuming so. Other things, see, that's a truth that maybe we need to figure out. And then you got these kids who are like, oh my God, there's a cop in here. So no one's saying don't have an officer in school, but can we reframe it?
You're not reframing my thoughts.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But see,
so maybe I'm not the right guy
it.
for this podcast, because we
Are
think
you
the
serious?
same.
I know.
I'm
that's
not
why
saying
we're doing it.
Yeah, but I know. Yeah, he does have to wear a uniform, and there's reasons for that.
Ooh,
Okay, and the reasons would be, we need to be able to identify him as the police officer, because it's not just about, hey, high fives and don't vape, right? It's also about what if somebody comes in, and has an active shooter situation. And you know what? Sorry, we have to think about that. So that's not chief me. That's
right,
dad
that's
me,
that.
And that's how I've thought about the SRO position. That's how I thought about active shooter stuff. I think about it first as dad. And you know what? I want that. I want, because guess what? In this little town I work in, if something goes wrong, all of a sudden, at least for those moments, I'm dad.
I did not think of active shooters. I live in my little bubble of Exeter, New Hampshire, thinking that active shooting can't come to Exeter, New Hampshire. So that's not what I think about. I don't think about the true experiences that warrant the need for a person in a uniform in a school.
Thank you for saying that, because that's exactly what everybody's doing. Yeah. Think about, our job is just, it's far different. And I'm not in the space really to get into this today, but I am frustrated. And I'm what is it? Is it compassion fatigue? What is it where it's like, all right, I'm tired of being nice.
Yeah.
Because not everybody's always right. You have to look at
But do we need that sometimes?
What?
Right, the space you're at right now.
Yeah, I'm getting used to being in this space, at least once a month.
Let me know when you're at your time of the month again. And this is where I think the point of this show is, and why we are doing this, and why you do need to stay on this, and why this is so important. Imagine the conversations I can go now and have at the tables I'm at everything that I'm doing, to say, you know what, guys, I know this different thing now, and I know that can't happen. Let's think about it a different way and go about our change movement a different way. You can do the same thing too, because of your conversations with me. I'm sure you talk a little bit differently about things when you're doing it. And that's why we do this show.
That's exactly why I came to Greenacre, because I knew that people are in their corners and they don't know and they don't care about race. But you know what? I cared enough and think it's important to say, we're going to talk about it.
So we're going to tackle that and keep getting into this. And we want people to really stay tuned, because this is where the change happens.
Maybe.
The Conversations We Should Be Having is brought to you by Greenacre Baha'i School. Greenacre is a center of learning in Elliott, Maine, dedicated to promoting the oneness of humanity so that we all may live in a just, diverse, and united society. For new episodes and events, please visit theconversationweshouldbehaving.com. You can find the podcast on any of your favorite listening platforms. Please like, follow, and share.